What is up, Panther Nation? Bill Mack here with another edition of the Panther Prowl. This is the Week 16 matchup between the Carolina Panthers playing host to the Detroit Lions. This is a playoffs potential implication in this game for both teams, as we see the Carolina Panthers come into this game 5-9. Hosting the 7-7 Lions, and both teams have found a resurgence here in the second half of the season, where the Panthers, ever since Steve Wilkes has taken over the Panthers, are pretty much, I think they're 4-5 since he took over, but they're showing a lot of promise. There's the identity, everything that the Panthers needed to have in leading up to this game has been recovered by Steve Wilkes. As you remember, Panther Nation, Matt Rule was let go after going 1-5 into the season, and the Panthers pretty much turned to Steve Wilkes, who is a native of North Carolina, which was born and raised in Charlotte, went to high school in Charlotte, even played some ball in Appalachian State. He was on the Panthers 2015. He was on the defensive coordinator at the time, was there for 3 of the Panthers division championships when they went back to back to back. They were playing host to Bank of America Stadium this week, and this was a cold week at that, a record-setting game, to say the least, in more ways than one, and we will get to that. However, the record-setting temperature, Panthers game time, was 20 degrees, and looking back on all past games in the winter time, this has been the coldest game that the Carolina Panthers have played in, coming in at 20 degrees. Now, looking at Detroit basically started the season just as the Panthers and went 1-6. However, Detroit has been on a hot streak here lately, going 6-1 in their past 7 games. Now, they both teams, like I said, are in the playoff picture. You know, the Panthers, of course, with a victory today, and then end up finishing off at Tampa Bay and at New Orleans, will give the Panthers the division at 8-9. This has been a parallel season, kind of, sort of, since the 2014 season, when the Panthers won the division at 7-8-1, going to the playoffs. Now, Detroit, as I said, have been playing well. No injuries to report. One of the great things this season, since the bye week was week 4 last, was the Panthers were able to take the bye week, and now going into I would say, the last 3 games of the season, this is important to have any injuries, pretty much, because this was a long haul. This was a long bye week that we had, 13 weeks. This is the longest one we've had. I think last year we had one, I think it was 11th week when we had it. So this is 13. So almost gone 3/4 of the season without a bye. So now coming to the last 3 games, 3 very important games, starting with today's game against the Detroit Lions. This is a must-win for us. Last week was a big setback for our whole team, for what we had been doing up until the last 3 games, running the ball, playing strong defense, and really just controlling time of possession and rushing the ball. Now, we were exposed last week. Pittsburgh came in to Bank of America Stadium, basically took it over. I know that this week we looked to bounce back. I was kind of worried about this game, coming into this game, because I didn't know Detroit was so hot, and this would be the game I would worry about. If we had to lose a game, this would have been the one I thought we probably would have lost. I was sure we were going to beat Pittsburgh, and I'm confident if we play well today, then they take that momentum into the last 2 games of the season. These are divisional games, but if the Panther wins out, they win this NFC South in this division, and they will play a home game this season. So there are a few things here. Like I said, no injuries to report. Everybody's pretty much good to play today. Of course, we wanted to give first a shout out to Brian Burns for getting a Pro Bowl nod this year. I thought there was a couple other people that could have got one, But anyways, needless to say, congrats to Brian Burns on his for his Pro Bowl selection this year. usually are 4 or 5 points I try to make, and what we need to look at in today's game leading into it. Of course, like I said, this is a Christmas Eve matchup, so we would love for Santa to deliver us a victory today. But let's look at what are a few things here that the Panthers need to do, or things to watch in this game. Now, we started off talking about the hot. As of late, Detroit has been, Jared Goff has been one of the big parts of that. Of course, Jared Goff is quarterbacking Detroit's offense, and Detroit's offense right now, they are ranked fourth in total offense. They are tied for fifth in scoring and third in the red zone. So they have been getting the ball, they have been scoring, and when they're in the red zone, they are pretty much scoring when they need to score. Their offensive line has been pretty decent in protecting them. They're tied for first in sacks allowed here. So what does that mean? That means then we piggyback off that, where Brian Burns and company are going to have to really pressure Jared Goff into making mistakes, try to get sacks, try to cause disruption, try to cause him to the Detroit Lions offense to make turnovers. That's what we're going to have to do. So we see that Burns has 10.5 sacks, of course, which is 10th in the league. His first double-digit, total sack total. So congrats to him. So trying to keep Jared Goff with that offense grounded pretty much on both ends of it. They got wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's doing pretty well with 89 catches for the year and almost 974 yards. So he may get his 1,000 today, but he's 6th in receptions, and he has 50 catches since week 10. So we see that Jared Goff has relied a lot on him. So we're pretty much going to have to try to see what happens, because of course J.C. Horn is back, C.J. Horn is playing. DJ's out for the year, so we're going to rely on trying to keep Amon-Ra St. Brown pretty much grounded if we can, or at least yards as possible. Detroit's run game is 14th in the league. Now, this is where it gets too much, too. They're pretty decent. James Williams, he is having a career year this year with them coming into Detroit with 839 rushing yards, and he has 14 rushing touchdowns, which is the NFL league so far in that. And he's complimented no less than DeAndre Swift, who is getting 5.5 yards per carry, which is fourth among running backs with at least 70 carries. But the Panthers, we look at the Panthers' defense to that. They have held opponents to 17.2 points per game since week 10. So they have been keeping their scoring down, which is fourth in the league for the Panthers, and Detroit is scoring 30 points, which is a third in the league. So you're going to have a fourth-ranked defense, and as far as since week 10 against a third-ranked offense. So this is going to be a matchup, defense versus offense. What's the Panthers going to do? Which pretty much is what it's been all season long. Number 2, as I stated last week, we got really embarrassed on the ground against Pittsburgh. They ran the ball all over us. We just had no answer for Pittsburgh. And we only had like 21 yards total, like 15, 16 carries, which, is a little over a yard and something. So terrible, terrible way to play. But we'd have to bounce back. This is a cold game. This is the kind of game that we need our running game to warm up and warm back up, reignite that fire, and get Deontay Foreman and Chuba back into it. They were doing well up until last week. They fell flat. So they've got to bounce back and keep the ball on the ground, keep the time possession, everything pretty much what they need to do, they need to have and need to get it done. That's what they're going to have to do. So we've talked about what the run game. Now we look at the offense. Sam Darnold's been playing well. And by well means he's done what has been required of him to do. Now, the Panthers haven't turned the ball over Sam's last 3 starts, but Sam is having his 4th straight start, since coming in for Denver, and he hasn't thrown an interception in those 3 starts, and they haven't turned the ball over since week 12. So make sure you continue that. Okay, don't make silly mistakes. Don't hold on to the ball way too long. That can create mistakes. And if you need to throw, throw. If you need to run, run. But don't make mistakes. Try to keep it cost free. This team is running off of that, of taking care of the ball and running the ball. We've seen what happened last week when they can't run the ball and they weren't getting the chance to pass like they should. So try to protect that ball. And so we look at our side. Over on the Detroit side, we see the golf ranks in the top 10 in passer touchdown to interception ratio and passer rating this year, where he's gone 6 straight games without a pick, which is the longest active streak. So that's why I said the defense has to get after him. He is where the heartbeat of the offense starts this season. We've got to make sure Sam keeps the ball, but get Jared Goff to throw the ball and try to create some turnovers and things. The Panthers, of course, are 28th in the league with takeaways. So they didn't get one against Pittsburgh. Now, you look at this, the way the Panthers play. It's like they'll knock down passes. They've had, I can't tell you, countless passes in their hands. They're just not seeming to come up with the interceptions. They are getting the pressure to the quarterback. They're getting plays on the ball. They're just not getting in their hands. I can't tell you the number of times on our hands I'm counting the passes that were directly in their hands, and it's like their hands were brick for some reason. So they've got to try to create some turnovers on there. And I would say too, like I did say, it's a potential record-setting cold today weather in Bank of America Stadium, where the high was supposed to be, like I said, it's supposed to dip below 20 degrees tonight, which is Saturday. And this is the Panthers' coldest home game. I think the record was on January 3rd of 2010, so 12 years ago, where it was 30 degrees. So we're definitely going to fall below that. So, all right, Panther Nation, game is getting ready to start. I'm going to put it on pause, and we'll get right back. And when I come back from you, we will have the review and my final thoughts and the final score of the game. So just hold on, and I'll be back in the second half. Sorry about that. Anyways, put it on pause, and I'll come back with the finish of the game. So just hold tight. And we're back, Panther Nation. This is the part 2 of the Carolina Panthers Week 16 matchup. This is the review portion of the video where we discuss the final results and get the stats and what happened in the game between the Carolina Panthers, of course, playing host. To remind you, the host of the Carolina Panthers pretty much playing the being able to see what happens here, because it was a very important game for us to have today, Panther Nation. It really was. And just knowing what we needed to do and knowing how we needed to handle the Detroit Lions coming into this game. So we will look at these stats here, seeing in the game today. As we count the scoring here with the Panthers here, let's start off the stats here. Scoring drives, give you an idea on scoring, and we'll give you the final results here. Of course, Carolina scored first on the board at 11:57. Rasheem Blackshear had a 7-yard TD run, finished off on a 5-play 78-yard drive, taking a little over 3 minutes on the clock. Of course, Detroit answering back. Steven Zylstra had a 3-yard pass from Jared Goff on a 88-play 60-yard drive. So we see the score will be knotted up at 7 apiece. Going into the second quarter, of course, Sam Darnold had a 3-yard run, which a scamper. Back-to-back plays on that, which this was a 8-play 91-yard drive for taking 4 minutes and 42 seconds off. That was followed by, sorry about these sounds, I'm right near a road. Oh, it's so aggravating at times. So Panthers score again, a little over 2 minutes left in the game on Deontay Foreman with a 4-yard TD run. Pinero throws the kick in there. This was a 11-play 92-yard drive, taking 6 minutes off. So Panthers with a 10-plus play drive and to go in the half. And then finally, Panthers get the ball back, 7 plays, 68 yards, 59 seconds off, with Panero hitting a 37-yard field goal. So we look at the score. Panthers, 7, 14, 21, and 3 points makes 24. So the Panthers are 24-7 at the half. So would the Panthers' momentum keep up? See, this is the thing we kind of get worried about is, are they going to keep doing what they're doing? Are they going to try to keep scoring? Are they going to try to play conservative, which was one thing they had been doing all season long here? And of course, we look and they answered our question as DJ Moore caught a 5-yard TD pass from Sam Darnold for a 7-play, 74-yard drive, 3 minutes and 34 seconds off the clock at this, and only one more other scoring drive, which was done by Detroit. Steven Ziltra with a second touchdown pass, a 7-yard pass from Jared Goff. The 2-point conversion failed. 7 plays, 80 yards for 3 minutes and 12 seconds off the clock. And finally, fourth quarter, rounding it up, Panero hits a 40-yard field goal on a 10-play, 47-yard drive. So 2 10-yard drive play, 10 play plus drives, which is great to hear, which is what we needed to do, is try to continue. And that's all due to the run. When you're getting these runs, you're getting 5, 6, 7 minutes off at a time on these drives, 8 minutes. It does a great thing for keeps your offense your defense resting, which is what they need so they can expel more energy putting into trying to get the quarterback getting the quarterback to make mistakes. Steven Zylstra for Detroit looks like he was the man today, catching a 1-yard TD pass from Jared Goff. That was a 8-play, 87-yard drive with taking only a minute and 50 seconds off. So that kind of shows you so far in the game that St. Brown isn't being able to do what he needs to get done. Panero, of course, another field goal, 36 yards off of 6 plays, 32 yards, at a minute 50. And then finally Bagley, their kicker, with a 34-yard field goal, 8 plays and 62 yards to pretty much wind down the game. Onside kick, of course, failed here, as we see. And by those scores, Panther Nation, I am pleased to let you know that the ending of the game is a Panther W. Yes, indeed, Panther Nation. The Panthers score 37 points against the Detroit Lions, who were hot, who pulled up 23 of their own near the end, which the other touchdown was pretty much a garbage touchdown because they were pretty much then in prevention mode. So that really wasn't, I wouldn't even really count that. So it was actually a lot higher than what we would expect. Such a great play for the Panthers. Such a great scoring by the offense. So, and let me give a shout out again. After failing to do what needed to be done last week in running the ball, the Panthers bounced back. The 3-headed monster running game with Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, and Rasheem Blackshear did the job this week. Let me tell you this. They didn't just get 100. They just didn't get 150. They didn't get 200, but 300-plus yards on the ground. And Sam Darnold wasn't shady either. This offense, defense, special teams, everybody pretty much did their job. It did what needed to be done. They did what it takes to win. And I said that in the preview. I said they've got to try to get Jarrett. Now, Jarrett's going to go and get his points. But as you hear in the breakdown of the scoring drives that were there, Zylstra was the man today. It wasn't Amari St. Brown, I believe his name. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But anyways, let's look here a breakdown of the stats for the game here. As we see, passing wise, of course, we see Sam Darnold here. Sam Darnold going 15 of 22 yards, passing for 250 plus yards. So back-to-back 200 passing yard games for Sam. Of course, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, which again, that means don't turn the ball over, Sam, and you give your team a chance. Putting Sam at back-to-back ratings over 100 this time 121.4. So, congrats, Sam. You need a clap. Let me give you a clap, Sam. I mean, good job. Applause from me for doing just what you need to do. And it's pretty much just, and the Panthers needed this. Don't turn the ball over. Keep the ball safe. Don't make mistakes. Don't throw interceptions. And that's just what they did. Now, we look at Jared Goff, of course. Like I said, the dude's a monster. The secondary got torched today. Now, mind you, it was Goff was going to get his. We knew, but they got 3 touchdowns, and fortunately, and usually, we know what was our old record. We were like 1-25, 126, something like that. Whenever the opposing team scored 17 points, so they gave up 3 touchdowns today. And like I said, DJ wasn't there, and JC did it he could, but you have CJ Henderson's got to step up. You had more Keith Taylor had to step up, Xavier Woods step up, and of course Goff got his passes. He went 25 of 42 for 355 yards, throwing 3 touchdowns with a rating of over 110. So Goff got his. He got his. Running the ball, this is what we look at here. Of course, we said, Blackashire, or we'll just go in order. We see Deontay Foreman here. He had 21 carries for 165 yards, averaging 7.9 a carry, getting a touchdown. Sam Darnold scampered a few times, which is what he needs to do, because Steve Wilkes told him after the game, he's last week or it was week before, he said, look, if you got a chance to make plays with your legs, go ahead and make plays with your legs. Just do that. You don't always have to feel like you depend on the ball, depend on throwing the ball. If you've got a chance, go ahead, Sam. And see, Sam did that. He did that last year before he got hurt. He was when the Panthers won like 3 straight. He was running the ball. It just seemed like this year he just didn't want to run it. And Steve Wilkes told him, the coach said, you need to make sure that if you got a chance to make a play with your feet, do it. And Sam did that. Sam had 6 carries, 19 yards. He had a touchdown. Deontay, like I said, Chuba Hubbard, he had 12 carries, 125 yards. So 2 backs, one over 165, one over 125. And Chuba Hubbard, 12 for 125, averaging 10 yards a carry. And then, of course, we had Blackashire, only 3 attempts on 3 carries, which when you had Chuba and Deontay doing it all, you really didn't necessarily need him to come in. So, he wasn't as needed as much, and that's okay. I mean, he did what needed to be done of him and what was asked of him. And, of course, the end around for DJ, got a catch for 8 yards. So we look at Detroit. What did they do on the side of run? Well, of course, Goff himself got involved. He had 3 carries, of course, for 15 yards. And then after that, like I said, Panther Nation, look at this. Deontay Swift, 4 attempts on 12 yards, 7 attempts for James Washington, 7 attempts for 11 yards, not even averaging 3.0 or 1.6 yards. So we look at the rushing yards, which is what the Panthers got run on last week to come back against them this week. And we see that the Panthers only give up a total of 45 rushing yards. They give up 336 or 355 passing, but they give up 300 and only give up 45 yards in the running game. Now, I didn't say this, as I didn't mention this, but Sam was not sacked today. That offensive line is part of them being able to do it. Is the offensive line bending and not breaking and not allowing him to get sacked all game. Panthers did get sacked twice on Jared Goff, and we'll get into the defense and give credit to those guys who got sacks in and did that, because I said they had to get pressure on Goff today, and they did just that. Now we look at the receiving stats here. We go down a little bit. Receiving wise, as we see here, of course, leading the way is DJ Moore. He had 5 receptions with a total of 83 yards, with a touchdown, of course. We also saw that Terrence Marshall Jr. had a couple of crucial catches, 2 catches for 55 yards. With that as well. Also, we had Laviska Shenault come in, 3 catches, 53 yards. Good for him on some, on typical Laviska Shenault plays. A lot of scamper, a lot of run, a lot of bubble, a lot of whatever trick, whatever it is. Did that. Also, Tommy Tremble got a couple catches. Shi Smith did make an appearance. So did Ian Thomas, and Blackishire got him one for double digits in yards in receiving yards today. We look on the other side. Now, this is where we see the problem with the secondary. Where Goff was going to, like I said, we knew he was going to go off today. And of course, DJ Chark had 4 catches with over 108 yards. So when they got to the man had some long passing plays to him. Didn't get a touchdown. Zylstra, like I said, Zylstra had all 3. As you see, Zylstra only had all 3 touchdowns. That's where they come from. So Amon-Ra St. Brown had 7 catches for 76 yards. Khalif Raymond had 1 catch for 56. Josh Reynolds, 2 for 31. James Mitchell had 2 for 31. Shane Zylstra had 5 for 26. And, of course, Swift caught a pass, and so did Brock Wright as well. And, of course, James Williams had a couple catches as well. So no receiving touchdowns today except only through Steven Zylstra. So outside of him getting it, they were getting it, and Shark got his points. But as we saw, the other receivers weren't able to get over 100. So one of 3 receivers got over 100 yards. So the Panthers, even though you say, wow, 355 yards is a lot, but they didn't burn them as bad, I guess you could say. It could have been worse, I guess, because the Panthers had so many running yards, really offset everything. Now we look at the receiving side. DJ, of course, 5 catches, 83 yards. He had that touchdown, which was the lone Panthers receiving touchdown. And we talked about Terrace Marshall and them getting catches in. All these guys were doing well today, and were called on and did what needed to be done whenever they had that chance to do things. So as we continue to scroll on down, Shi Smith had a fumble, which always scared of that. Panthers were able to recover them. Udo Gross-Matos recovered the fumble by Shi. Now, defensive-wise, this was the game because the Panthers, really outside of that last touchdown, only gave up like 16 points. I won't even really count that 23 or that last touchdown, because that was more of a garbage touchdown was what that one was. So we look at the Panthers on defense here. And, of course, we see that that Shaq Thompson had 6 tackles. 3 guys had 6 tackles. Shaq, Chin, and J.C. Horn all had 6 tackles. And Frankie Louva had 5 tackles with a tackle for a loss. Of course, YGM had 5 tackles. Hartsfield had 4 tackles. Matty Unitas had 4 tackles with a tackle for a loss. Brian Burns, of course, the main man, one of my dudes, 2 sacks off 2 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. So not only were they sacks, these were sacks behind the line of scrimmage, which allowed him to get those. So bumping him up. So he had 10.5. You add 2 to that, makes 12.5, boys and girls. 12.5 sacks for Brian Burns. Shout out to him for getting that today. And we also see that Keith Taylor only had a tackle. A lot of guys with just 1 tackle. Derek Brown, of course, like I said, Derek Brown is just a awesome dude on that defensive line. His stats aren't going to show up in the stat line every single week, but if you just watch this dude, he definitely can do what he needs to get done. He definitely can create havoc, cause traffic, do what he needs to wreak havoc on the defensive line. So shout out to him for another good game today. Scrolling wise for the Detroit Lions, of course, we had the guy's name. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Afutu Meliformanu, I guess, sorry if it's wrong, but he led the way with 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Keefe Smith had 7 tackles. Jeff Otah had 6. Comiskey had 6. Adam Aleem McNeil had 6. And as we go down line 4 and 3, McNeil, Alex Anazone, had 5 tackles. He had 1 tackle for loss. And, of course, Malcolm Rodriguez had 5 tackles with a tackle for loss. So if you take 4 tackles for loss for that Detroit Lions, defensive side of the ball we see no sacks here. Sam was kept upright, which is what you want from your offensive line. And your is to keep your quarterback pretty much keep him upright, keep him where he's not running for his life all the time. We see that we thought Anthony Roberts was going to be off and be able to return kicks. However, Blackishire had been doing that. He had a couple today, 46 yards. And, of course, he was also on punting the ball back, returning it as well. He and Shi Smith, they both had a total of 4 for a total 11 total yards on the play. And kicking-wise, of course, good old Eddie Chance, 3 of 3, 17 straight field goals, 4 of 4 extra point attempts, getting 13 points today. Congrats to Eddie. Panther Nation, it was just such a great win here. Such a wonderful way to end the final home game as the Carolina Panthers finished their home campaign regular season with a big W, putting up 37 points and taking these last 2 games on the road. Now we're going to see what the Panthers' offense and defense really are made of. Their destiny is in their hands. Their playoffs, their division championship, or should I say division title, are in their hands. They're in the driver's seat. All they've got to do, win these last 2 games, and they get it. And they get a playoff game at home, which has been seemingly like forever since we've done that, since really that magical, I guess you would say, 2015 season. So not to say that would be the last one. I didn't look up to see when the last one was, but it's just knowing that we got that chance to be able to go out there and it's in their hands. They knock off Tampa Bay, they knock off New Orleans, and it's theirs. The NFC South 2022-23 season is theirs for them to reign over the top and to get a playoff berth and playoff home game at home. So I can't wait. Awesome job, like I said, with the Panthers running the ball. They went back to what they needed to get done. They put up 300 yards rushing on the board. And what was that total amount? I was trying to look it up. I had it looked up. And I was going to, and I think I may have said what their total was, but to see the, but Deontay going 165, Chuba going 125. I mean, what more can you really ask for in this matchup with them? I mean, just congrats all around to this team overall because they did what needed to be done. They put up and scored what needed to be scored. I mean, they ran the ball. Sam kept the ball. Everything they needed to do, Panther Nation, they did that and then some. So you can't really ask for anything more than that. We did do one, and like I said, I know I didn't break down the team stats here, but I'll go over them quickly for you. The Panthers were still lackluster in the third down efficiency department, only going 3 of 9. They were, of course, 1-1 on fourth down conversions. However, they did hold Detroit back too. Detroit was only 4 of 12, so really didn't do any better. Total yards, Panthers 570 total yards on 11 plays. The Panthers had 8 yards, almost 9 yards per play, 250 passing by them, 320 total yards rushing attempts, 43, averaging 7.4 on the ground per rush. Panthers, of course, did a great job, 4 of 6 in the red zone. They got the chances. They scored touchdowns, which is what they need to continuously doing. Detroit was 50% at 3-6. Of course, penalties. Panthers were hurting in the penalty department. 10 penalties, so double-digit penalties after not getting as many last week. Of course, Detroit had 4 of 30, and like I said, and as we look, time of possession, Panthers were back at it, 35 minutes compared to 24 minutes to Detroit. So that's what running the balls to do. So anyway, Panther Nation, I'm getting ready to end this video. As always, thanks so much. If you like my content, like the Panthers videos, like my commentary, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Leave any comments, opinions, thoughts in the comment box. And if not, share this video with other Panther Nation, as I enjoy doing videos. I look forward to anybody to subscribe if you would like to. It does a lot of help for me. So once again, Panther Nation, Panthers win 37-23, last home game, Christmas Eve. So I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and this season. And let's hope that the Panthers can take home these next 2 games and put them away and bring the NFC South title back to Charlotte and the Carolinas as well. So, Panther Nation, this is Bill Mack with the Panther Prowl saying, keep pounding.